And of course, if you don't get treatment, lifelong treatment with drugs whose prices come down quite a bit, but still a fair degree of expense, then you will die from it. And so what we need to do is somehow reduce the number of people who get infected. And in the long run, what you want to get is a HIV vaccine. And the foundation spends about $300 million a year on that. We in the United States government, National Institute of Health, are the two big funders of AIDS vaccine activity. Unfortunately, it's probably a decade away before we get a construct like that. So you have to say, okay, what are the tools that we can use that will reduce the number of cases between now and then? There's still over 2 million people a year being infected with AIDS. The peak was about 3 million, and now we're down to about 2 million. So we're down, but that's still kind of a horrific number, which for these societies is a big problem. Well, one thing that was discovered is that, not to bring up an indelicate topic, is that if you're circumcised, your chance of catching AIDS is reduced by over 60% than if you're uncircumcised. And so when that was discovered, people said, well, that's interesting, but what are we going to do about it? I mean, that's kind of a very culturally distinct thing, and are people even willing to talk about it? Is there any way that you can do it? And you need a lot of surgeons, and surgeons, they could make mistakes, and people are sensitive about mistakes. And this just may not work. Well, there was a French scientist, Bernard Autran, in South Africa, who took an area called Orange Farm, and he went and proved that if you provided the service, if you promoted it, that the young men who you want to come in, say age sort of 12 to 20, that they would come in. And so he got over 80% coverage of this township area. And so the question was how to scale this up. Well, again, we ran into the problem of surgeons. And I'm going to show you something. I don't know how strange this stuff is, because I'm so used to working on male circumcision that I forget, if you haven't been talking about it recently, it might seem a little strange. So anyway, the question was, what do you do to avoid the need for lots of surgical time? Typically, a surgeon would need on the order of 30 minutes per procedure. And so what was invented is this thing. It's called the Sheng ring. There's actually another one that's very similar called the Prepex ring, but I'll just talk about this one. And what this does is it reduces the time that the surgeon has to be involved down to a few minutes. And basically this ring is applied, and I'll leave it to your imagination. There are videos online that if you have your pornography filter on, probably you can't access. But in any case, it is a fantastic development, because with this, and that thing it's just plastic. It's very cheap. When you have the procedure, that stays with you for 7 days, and then you go back and it's removed. And it reduces the pain involved. It reduces the cost involved. Very straightforward. One thing that was fascinating to find out is even in the groups that do get circumcision, it's often done as sort of a tribal exercise and done in a fairly unsanitary way. So this is very popular now, even in the areas where circumcision was normal, that this can be done at any age, this tool used. So that is a positive thing as well. And so now we're trying to scale it up. If you can reduce the benefit over time of getting a lot of males circumcised accrues, because the less males that get infected, the less females that get infected, the less females get infected, the less males get infected. So the benefit is exponential over time if you're able to target the people at the right age. And so by getting large numbers, we can definitely change the scale of the epidemic very dramatically. Now, in no way does it substitute for the fact that we want a vaccine. We want a perfect preventative tool, and we're going to keep investing in that. But in the meantime, for not too much money, maybe $1 billion in total to cover all of the heavily affected areas, we can promote, roll out, and deliver these circumcisions because of this piece of plastic that completely changes the training required and the complexity. Now that rollout takes time. I'm very impatient. It's taken a little longer than it should have. Last year we delivered only 1 million, and we need to scale that up to over 15 million a year. And the belief is that we can do that by 2015. So everybody in the field is working on that. When I was in Zambia, we went through their plans. Where are they going to put centers in? How are they going to promote them? And so it looks like this will be the primary intervention applied over the next 4 or 5 years. There's some others that if people want to ask questions about, microbicides, daily pills, other things we've invested in. But none of those so far have panned out in terms of significant impact. So we're really trying to scale up the one that we have, male circumcision, until we get our truly powerful tool, which would be the AIDS vaccine. Well, let me move to the last innovation, which is an agricultural thing. And as I mentioned, most of the poor people in the world are farmers.